Okay, I want to share with you the experience that we've had over the last 15 years in leadership training. We've been talking a lot about teaching people how to train their horses. We've been teaching people how to break through their big challenges. We've been teaching people how to get their horse to break through their big challenges. But the biggest thing that's always really stuck out in my mind over the last 15 years of teaching is the people side of it, right? The horses are wonderful and I love them, and we still do so much with our horses and with our clients. But the teaching side, where we really get to integrate real leadership skills into the person, that's been my passion for this entire time. In fact, when I joined Pat Pirelli and his team 15 years ago, nearly 15 years ago, it was because I was hoping to really reach out and help people with their problems, not horses with their problems. Although my heart's there for the horse, I really want to help horses as well. And the thing is, it's the people, though, that really have the challenges. So when I say we've been busy little bees for the last, several months, actually several years in the making, we've actually been making a people program to help people break through their personal things and really find a new pathway to happiness and joy and break through the limiting factors. So what I wanted to do, this is kind of a unique experience, and we're not going to be here that long tonight for a lot of you watching on the East Coast. What I want to do is give you a really simple formula. It's a leadership formula that we're going to cross over from animal training into human training. And I've got my little whiteboard back here. Hopefully I can write big enough for you to see. But I think you'll find that there's some really valuable information for you. And if you know somebody you want to share this with, you're going to find there's some valuable information for them. But let me just first say two things.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, yes. Thank you for coming. I love this. This is fun. The first thing is, at the end of this, we're going to be giving away a little program we call the Voice of Power. I can't even say it's a little program. It's a huge program. It's a month-long program. And the Voice of Power is about getting into the psychology that you have and breaking through limitations so you can experience more joy. But in order to do that, to give that away, we need to get followers, we need to get questions, and we want to invite you to bring questions during this time we have together, whether it's a horse question, it's a challenge that you have with your horse where you're not reaching that goal, you're not finding the answer to your question about it's either in you, your confidence, your skill, or it's in your horse. So we're going to allow some questions and ask and answer some questions ourselves. And at the end of it, we're actually going to, Rachel's got the details on this, but we're actually going to give away one week of that Voice of Power program. It's a month-long program, and every week we do something new for you in the program. But we want you to try it for 1 week. We want you to give you a chance to feel what it feels like. And so we're going to give that spot away at the end of this time we have together. So, without further ado, I see a question from Aggie. Aggie, hello. It's been so long. She says, what about when you lose confidence? Oh, Aggie, it's a wonderful question. What do you do when you lose confidence and you're afraid of being hurt? Well, before I answer that question, let me show you the formula. I got it here. So, when it comes to leadership, and to working with the emotional brain, or what some people call the animal brain, you will find this crosses over in all disciplines, by the way. every single leader in the world does these things. If you're a follower of Tony Robbins, if you're a follower of T. Harv Eker, if you're a follower of Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, if you're a follower of any great leader, you will find they do these things I'm going to give you today. And then we're going to be able to integrate this or cross over to help answer some of those questions we have in relation to confidence, just like Aggie brought up. Thank you again. And Jenny, thank you for your question as well. Yes, we do customize the program for individuals, and that's the key to it. The voice of power is getting right to individuals. But let me start with the first of 4 B's that you have to memorize. The letter B. Can you see it? B. The first of 4 B's. You've got to get this down, and every single leader. I didn't go to school for spelling. I went to school for something else. Every single leader. This is boundaries, by the way, if you can't read it. Boundaries are the first B that you have. Every single leader has really clear boundaries, really clear do's and don'ts. This is acceptable, but this is not acceptable. This is why the leader stands on a stage, because on the stage there's a little bit of space between the audience and him. If the leader stands right in the middle of the audience, and if you're a horse person and you're watching this, this is not safe to be in the middle, because the audience doesn't pay attention. And if you're a horse person, if you're dealing with animals, if you're right in the middle of the thing, if it's right on top of you, if you're right on top of each other, there's no way to really communicate. There's no way to really be safe. So boundaries are critical. So back to Aggie really quickly, and your question about confidence. What if you're afraid of getting hurt with your horse? Well, this is what it comes down to. There's got to be some really clear do's and don'ts with your animals. And when it comes, and this crosses over into our human experience as well, if we don't have really clear do's and don'ts in our life, if we allow behaviors to exist, if it's 10 o'clock at night and instead of going to sleep we watch 10 other movies, then this is one of those do's and don'ts. It's not gonna be healthy for us. So back to the horses, if you're going to really train an animal, especially a big animal, the very first thing you have to do is establish boundaries. And with all the people over the years that I've worked with in confidence, this is where it always falls apart. I say, let me see you with your horse. Let me see you in your normal lifestyle. Let's see what kind of things come up. And we see really clearly that the boundaries aren't set. There's things the horse is allowed to do, they get away with. There's things that the human does and gets away with. It's just not crystal clear. So if I'm going to make it crystal clear for you with horses, there's basically 4 boundaries. There's one where you ask your horse to back away from you, and if I'm crossing over into leadership, I ask for space. I ask for space away from me so that we can think together and start a line of communication. And then we need to be able to direct the space, left and right, and then back in. So we have back away, left and right, and back towards me. As soon as we can direct the animal, our confidence goes through the roof. And so does the animal's confidence as well, because that's the way the brain works. As soon as things are clear, not muddy anymore, well then we can break through some of the biggest fears that we have in our life. So, crystal clear on your boundaries. Now, if that's going to transfer over to writing, which it often does for a lot of students, I want to ride my horse, but I'm unconfident. How can working on the ground really affect that? It does affect it quite a bit to get on the ground and reestablish some boundaries. But once you're up there, the boundaries have to be clear as well. They're very, very clear do's and don'ts. You must control the space, otherwise you don't have a really good shot in being successful. So you've got to find a way to control the space. Now, if you come from the natural horsemanship world, where you believe that having a really lovely, friendly relationship with your horse is important, or with any animal for that matter, including, when I say animal, I'm including us in the equation. We have a very emotional brain. We have a logical brain too, but it's very, very emotional. So if you've come from that background where you know it's important to have really clear bond and trust, I want to say now that that's the second B. It actually comes second. And I lost my marker. That'll do. Huh? Here we go. Second B, bonding. Why on earth would I put bonding after boundaries? If you got an idea, shout it out. Thank you, Aggie, for your comment, by the way. She's saying it's not so much writing, it's online. And online it's the same thing, really clearly establishing boundaries. Why on earth would I put bonding after boundaries? Why would bonding be more important? Why would boundaries, be more important than bonding? That's right, Jenny, thank you. No, if there's no boundary, there's no bond. That's the bottom line. If nobody's controlling the space, you can be really, really good friends, but you're not going to be safe. And a lot of times that's what happens. We try to be really good friends with our animals or our followers or ourselves, and we allow these do's and don'ts to get all kind of muddled up. So we thank you for joining me, those of you who are just joining. Aggie, thank you again for your comments. They're wonderful. And yes, thank you, Patty. You got to be the leader to stay safe. So instead of bonding first, and this is really hard for a lot of people. In my personality, it's actually hard too. I'm not the kind of person that has this excess amount of just forceful nature inside me. I'm not the kind of person that walks out there and says, I'm going to make this happen. I don't care about anybody else. I'm very sensitive and intuitive to the animal, so I would naturally revert to bonding first. But all leaders actually start with boundaries. They actually set up the space. This is the space we operate in. And the animal comes in too close, and you say, no. And they say, please, I just want a treat. Please, can I just come in a little closer and just have just a little bit of special TLC? And you have to be able to say, no, you can't. You can't do that. You can't come in close. You have to stay out. That's the leader formula. And it's hard. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. You want to just give in. You don't want to ruin this beautiful friendship that you have. So, by the way, if we cross over now into the human world for just a second, we do the same things with ourselves, right? We're having a tough day, and we think, oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't go eat that whole case of donuts. But I kind of feel like I should just bond with myself for a little bit. So, okay, let's do it. Let's just go for it. That's where we start getting in trouble, especially repetitively. That's where we start getting in trouble if we don't have really clear do's and don'ts. So we're going to set up some really clear do's and don'ts for you, and then you get to start to bond with yourself, with your animals, And once the bond is starting to take place, this is really easy for a lot of people. How do you bond? How do you bond with somebody? With a horse, with a cat, a dog, a person, a child? How do people and animals bond? I love your comments. Keep them coming. Thank you very much. So, it's not that hard to guess, right? We love food. We love to relax. We love to play. We love to get massage therapy done and scratching and rubbing. And if you're working with animals, they especially love this kind of thing. So bonding is, thank you, Patty, dirty fingers, dirty hands with an animal. That's the ticket. You just get in there and find all those special spots and give them exactly what they want. That's any really good leader knows what the follower wants. What the follower really wants. Not what the follower maybe wants, but really on the deepest part of them wants. And that's where the bond starts to really take place. Now, we see a lot of leaders or trainers in our world that we're familiar with, right? If you're a horse lover or an animal lover, we see a lot of trainers who are really, really, really great at setting up boundaries. The first B. I mean, they're just superb. No messing around. If you've ever met one of these people, they've got a lot of bravado. They're very charismatic. Rules are set, really clear. No messing around. But they often will fail with the bond. I followed a really magnificent horseman for years who was horrible with bonding. A really great leader in the boundaries department, but in the bonding, it was scary. I mean, he didn't quite understand what I needed as a person. So, if you're working with animals, if you're working with yourself, we've got to be the kind of leader that can set up boundaries, but also the kind of leader that can do bonding, because a lot of people are really, really good at bonding. Have you ever met somebody like that? Maybe you, who's just knows exactly what to give. Horse wants a treat, give him a treat. Dog wants a bone, give him a bone. Person, friend, husband, wife wants something, give it to him, and the world is a happier place, and it's fun to give. It's really fun. Bonding is a lot of fun. We just want to make sure that we're taking it first, because if you're the kind of person that's really good at bonding but horrible at boundaries, this is where your confidence is lost. This is where you can get it back, is in bonding. So we have boundaries, we have bonding, and the third B, those of you who studied with me before, that's hard to see because I'm carrying my phone with me, bravery, boundaries, bonding, bravery. We have to have the first two in place before we really start training the horse to be confident, before we really start training ourselves. Now, if we cross over now, please allow me to cross over. And by the way, thank you for joining, if you just joined us. Lovely to have you. We welcome your comments and your questions. We'll get to them as best as we can. This is all brand new and exciting for us, so thank you for joining. So, if you're just following me now, we've been talking about boundaries and bonding and bravery as the first three of four really key leadership principles for your animals, or for your horse, or for yourself. Okay, so let's cross over for a second. We've talked quite a bit about, we've talked quite a bit about boundaries and bonding. What is this thing called bravery? Well, bravery, we finally have permission now to actually start the training process. We actually get to start teaching ourselves, or our animals to really be successful in the world. Now, if you don't have the first two things in place, you're not going to be very good at this thing. A lot of times people go straight to bravery training, and of course they're still missing the boundaries, and they don't have a good bond, and so the trust isn't there. The animal says, I don't know if I like you, therefore I'm not going to respond well to you. But once we get to this stage, we've really broken past the boundaries. They're crystal clear do's and don'ts. No gray area there, really crystal clear. Then we move to bonding, then we move to bravery. When we get to bravery, this is all about testing. And it's really simple, actually. You simply have to test the horse. Test yourself. Put yourself in a position purposely, on purpose, that's uncomfortable. Okay, yeah, that didn't sound like that would be a lot of fun. When I just heard myself say that. Who the heck wants to put themselves in a position that's uncomfortable? Let me tell you something really clearly, though. If your boundaries are set and your bond is really well established, you will love putting yourself in these kinds of positions because you're going to be bored out of your mind without it. There's not a lot of life and energy in boundaries and bonding. It's fun, it's relaxing, and who doesn't want to go have a massage every once in a while? But if you had a massage every day, now it's time to experiment with life a little bit. You would get sick of it. And I don't know for sure, but I think that I'm pretty sure that I've just lost my train of thought because this thing here asked me a question. 50 comments so far. That's pretty cool. I think that if you had a massage every day, can you imagine like in 5 or 6 weeks, maybe 5 or 6 days, you'd be thinking, okay, this is nice, but I need some more. So let's test my comfort level a little bit. Let's go put myself in a position that would be kind of, interesting, kind of fun. So we do need to establish a clear bond, clear boundaries. And when we're bored out of our mind, let's start to play with some bravery things. And if it's with a horse or dog or cat, then it's a matter of testing them with something that they wouldn't handle well, like a plastic bag or a tarp or a noise, something touching them in a weird kind of way. So we have all these things with animals, but what about us? How do we test our bravery? When we're bored enough to really reach out and get uncomfortable again, what kind of things could we do to do that and be successful at it? And I thank you, everyone, for joining and commenting so far. I'm deliberately, I see, it's the writing that's backwards. I wish I could deliberately write backwards. I think it's the way, it's probably the way the camera is pointing. So, this will be interesting. You get to see all the writing backwards. Upper right, flip from the selfie camera to the front one. Okay. So it's saying I should switch it around. Okay. Hang on. Peggy, thank you.
There's the other way.
Thank you, Peggy. I don't know if I completely understand you, but I'm going to try this. Okay. Now, you probably see my wife at the computer, and my beautiful little daughter in the background. And now I hope you see me, but I can't see you or your comments now.
Yeah,
is it backwards?
Yeah.
Are you seeing the writing backwards?
Yeah, but you're not on the camera. Oh, no. No.
Okay. There's probably a way, Peggy. Thank you. I'm not going to be doing tons of writing, so...
I did write it in the comments, so hopefully that
There's not going to be tons of writing, so hopefully messy. Okay. All right, now, where was I? Somebody get me back on track. Where was I? Oh my gosh. If you've been listening, help me get back on track here. Bravery. Testing our skills. Not just our skills, okay? That's actually later. Testing our confidence. Testing it. You're bored enough now to really start to test it. What could you do as a person? What could you do to reach out and beyond your comfort zone just a little bit so that you can expand it just a little bit? We've all seen the model where, no, I can't say we've all seen, that's a big assumption, but many of us have seen the model where we have our comfort zones and we kind of live right here. And if we just position ourselves out here, our comfort zone starts to grow. But until you're really bored enough, you won't do that. So once you get your boundaries and bondings really set up and you feel like I'm ready to just step out a little bit, we take the human, for example. How do we stretch ourselves? Well, it might be as simple as a phone call. Maybe you've been avoiding something. You know that you could contact your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your kids, and it's uncomfortable. You know that you could reach out and maybe sell something, but it's uncomfortable. But it's not so much that you have to break through. It's that that it's a test and it can be fun. And as soon as we feel confident enough to take just one little step, then we can have a lot of fun with it. The last B, I'm just getting carried away here because I get so passionate about it, but the last B here in the 4 B's of leadership is, I know it's a silly one, it makes sense, but it sounds silly. We begin. Now it's actually time to start. We begin training. We actually have permission now to start. And if you've watched any really great leaders, I mean, I have my own role models. We all have role models, but leaders like Tony Robbins is one of my role models. Oprah Winfrey, great role model as well, but we don't see her as often in a public, in an audience, with an audience, except on, she's in front of a camera with a small audience. But when you get in front of thousands of people, any leader that can do that, you're going to see really clearly that there are, I'm sorry about the writing, it got reversed again, that there are boundaries very, very crystal clear. And there's a bond starting to happen. If you've ever been to one of my classes where I teach horses and training and leadership, it's very, very clear right away that we have our space. We all sit down together, we all stand up together, we all move as a group, and it's all directed. And then we have the best time in the world. We bond and we tell jokes and we have so much fun. And then I start testing you, and that's what Tony will do. He starts testing you. These little tests to sort of say, just see if you can do this. And just reach out and give your friend, your neighbor there a pat on the back, or shake hands with somebody. That's a confidence test. And suddenly, you feel a little bit braver. And now, finally, you're ready to learn. You're finally ready to actually start the real training process, which is about training skills now. Developing, if you're a horse trainer, if you're a horse person and you're following me now, that's about developing your next level skills. So whatever it is for you. And by the way, I'll just take a quick second and pause here. If you have horse questions, I've been talking for a long time now, so I haven't invited a lot of questions. Please, if you have horse questions, bring them on board now. I think Aggie came up with the one earlier. Thank you very, very much. Bring any of your questions on board. I want you to know that we are here for you in this moment in time, for a little bit here anyway, to help you process the progress that you want. So, totally invite the questions. And I also want to know, it's been a while since I've said this, but we're going to give something away here in a little bit. We're actually going to give away the Voice of Power. It's a 1-week opportunity with the program that we've started. And I can't wait to tell you a tiny little bit more about it. But we're just going to take just a second now and talk about training. We've been through boundaries. We've been through bonding. We've been through bravery and confidence building. Now we can actually start to really test and learn something brand new. Now, if we're a horse, that means we're going to move into teaching on the ground, maybe liberty, or teaching a horse to lie down. Maybe in riding, we're going to teach a horse to do canter departures and flying lead changes and jumping. I mean, how exciting is that? Speaking of jumping, I am up to 4 feet. Scary and fun. But it's fun, more fun than scary because of this formula. Because the boundaries are set. I'm got a very clear bond with my animal. We are testing our bravery all the time, slowly building more and more and more confidence. And finally, we start to really test our skills. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very, very fun formula. So, thank you again for all your likes and your thumbs up. If you have any questions, I want to invite them. You don't have to, because I know it's like, well, I don't know what to say or ask. But I'm going to invite you to ask questions about anything. Trailer loading problems, cantering problems, confidence problems. What's the appropriate technique? Thank you, Pat. For a distracted horse. Horse distracted by cows and bucks during lunging. Oh my goodness, that's a wonderful question. Oh, I can get myself in a little bit of trouble here because I have a sense of humor that not everybody understands. I almost said you probably have to sell him, but I'm totally joking. You don't have to sell him. That was that sense of humor that comes out at the wrong time. The appropriate technique for working with a horse that's distracted by cows. Well, and the other question that she has there is the horse that bucks during lunging. So the technique is actually a program. It's actually starting with boundaries. And so what's happening is there's technical information here too, but let me get a little bit more broad for just a second. Your boundaries aren't clear enough. The do's and don'ts aren't clear enough. The horse is allowed to do something that's inappropriate for the situation. Like a kid in school, the teacher's in the middle of a lecture and the kid's falling asleep, or the kid's passing notes. It's not really appropriate, but it's allowed. We kind of allow it. Now, we don't mean to allow it, so I'm not saying that you are trying to allow it or even consciously allowing it. It's just that it happens. The horse is doing it and you're aware of it, but not quite sure what to do about it. And the answer is you have to bring the attention back. You have to say, no, you can't focus on the cows. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're exciting and they're new, but it's not safe. You got to focus on me. You have to. And every leader really does that for their follower. They say, don't focus on that. Imagine this. Imagine you and me are on a hike together, and we come up to this bridge that crosses a canyon, a gorge, water flowing underneath, and a big long drop, 200 feet to the bottom. And the bridge is really narrow, really small. So I'm okay with it, but you're terrified. If you can imagine this scenario, what would I do to keep you from being distracted? What would I do for you so that you could cross that bridge with me? And you can probably imagine, right? I'm going to say, don't look down. Don't look down. Look up. Follow me. Follow me. That's the ticket. That's what's happening with your horse. So Pat, thank you for the question. Ultimately, I want you to have the confidence and the leadership to really set the boundary and say, don't put your attention there. Bring it back to me. Focus on me. second part of that question, really quick, is what to do if the horse is bucking. Guess what? Same exact problem. The boundaries aren't clear, the do's and don'ts. So you've kind of allowed it to happen, and now you have permission. I'm giving you permission. Don't do that. Don't allow it anymore. When it shows up, just say stop. Stop. You can't do that. Now go again and do it nicely, please. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you, Pat, for your question. Wonderful question. Any other questions are more than welcome here for a few minutes. Hang on one second. Thank you. My wife is doing these signals at me like, what am I supposed to do next? So, next, we're about to give something away. We're about to give away the Voice of Power. It's a 1-week program. It's actually a month-long program, but we want to give away a week for you just to feel it. In this program, we write for you and create. And can we share a link to the Voice of Power program on here? We're going to share a link, especially it's right after we're done for sure. It's a month-long program where we produce these very empowering, personalized, motivational messages that are meant to drive you towards what you really want. Because sometimes we're hesitant. Sometimes we think, I really want to be free to go out and ride my horse more. I just got off the phone with someone this morning who did the Voice of Power program. She said she was terrified to ride. Cold sweats. She would be in the car on the way to the barn, and she would think, "No, you know what? I need to do some grocery shopping instead. I should probably make a phone call instead." So she's terrified. Patty, thank you for the question. I want to get to that in just a second. What does she do? She avoids it until her confidence is boosted by the Voice of Power program. We literally write her a series of messages and get her on board with the psychology she needs to go for it. And she does. It's been a year now. I just spoke with her this morning. I actually got her testimonial on video, on Skype video. And you'll see that posted soon. But she broke through. She's riding. She's riding Grand Prix horses. She's riding all the time with wonderful, young, challenging animals and horses. So where did the confidence to do that come from? Answer in here, in your head. And there's a way to break through some of that. Now, the formula is part of that way. It's about really clear do's and don'ts, what you can and cannot do. And then the other part of that is building up the psychology of can do, because we have a lot of can't do's in our psychology. And once we really develop and build that up, we can be very, very successful in whatever we want. So in a minute here, I'm going to give away a week of that program. Instead of getting a message every week, you're going to get a message for 1 week, and you're going to get to feel it. And if you love it, then you can join me for more weeks of this. We recommend a month. We sell the program as a month-long package. We have a few of our followers here who've also participated in it. I thank you very, very much. I have to come back. Can I go back? I had a question from Patty. Ponying a horse is not part of the herd. Would you do the same if the horse is a herd member? Not sure how to answer your question, Patty, because I'm not sure if you're asking if I would do the same what? But if you can answer me real quick, I will definitely get back to you as best I can. This, no matter what the animal is, no matter what the person is, no matter what the situation is, this formula will cross over every single time. I would absolutely demand full attention, set the stage, so to speak, and then create this fantastic bond with your animal or your follower, your husband or your partner. You just totally set the stage so you can be successful, and then you totally bond. You just fall in love with them, so much so that they know it. When we talk about bonding person to person, you can ask yourself a really quick, simple question. When's the last time you really told somebody you loved them? Not just with your voice, not just with your mouth, but with your hands. Like you reached in and you massaged them and you just gave them. I mean, if you're a horse trainer, this is what you do. You go in and you give them love. Dirty hands. Got to get that going. Someone else. Okay, here's Patty. Ponying someone else's horse. Would I do the same when I pony crate? Yes, Patty, you would do the exact same. You have very, very clear boundaries when you're leading another horse from a horse. You're taller, you're up higher, but the rules are still exactly the same. You must first set the stage, teach the horse to move away, teach the horse to come back, teach the horse to move side to side, and then once you have that, then take the first step. Don't walk, don't go anywhere until that's set up. Okay, so we're just about to give away this voice of power thing. Rachel, how do we do it?
You can get it for yourself or for a friend. So if you might want it, or you might know a friend or someone who really needs it. So if you want it, we are asking that you put in the little comment section, send me life, and we're going to pick the 5th person. When we say go on the count of 3, if you know of someone who might want one, or if you might want one, maybe it's the 2nd person. I don't know what number it is, but
it's number 5. Number 5. So what we want you to do to be very clear, if you want to win this chance to really experience the voice of power. Now, what this is we're going to produce a message for you, but it's so much more than an inspiration. Than a message. It's an audio inspiration, and it's personalized. Imagine me as a motivational speaker speaking not to an audience of 1,000, but to you specifically, about you, about your goals and your dreams and your hopes and your fears and your frustrations. Imagine being free from some of those things. So this is what the voice of power is. We're going to give it away for free, and all we need you to do is be the 5th person to type in your comments the words, "Send me life." We want to send you life. Jennifer, thank you for joining. You have to be the 5th person, and you can start right away. I mean, get typing if I were you. You can experience the Voice of Power program absolutely free. Or give it to a friend, because sometimes if you know somebody who is avoiding situations, give it to them. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift. Send me life. That's what I want you to type. Thank you, Patty. Send me life. Send me life. That's what you need to do. We have 3. All right. I think we've done it. We've got, wow, they're coming in now. Thank you very, very much. We have a winner.
awesome. Who is it?
It is Pat. Pat Senta. I'm sorry, I'm going to mess up your last name, Pat. Pat, thank you very, very much. We have a winner.
We will send you a message on Facebook.
Yeah,
and
Pat
give you
will
the
send you a
details.
private message and give you the details, and we'll get you started. In the meantime, we're also going to send you guys to the Voice of Power page. You can go to sendmelife.com, and learn more about the Voice of Power and what it can do in your life. And you can sign up and get started, or if you know somebody who is desperate for some motivation and inspiration, because sometimes it's not just motivation that we need to feel like the world's going to be okay. We can give that to you. We can change things for you. So sendmelife.com. I encourage you to go there and we are going to
Wrap up.
wrap up. We're going to be in touch with you, Pat. Thank you guys very, very much. If you have questions, email me.
Next Tuesday.
And also, look forward to next Tuesday at this exact same time. We're going to come back on with more specifics on the leadership formula and some new stuff around skill development. So bring your questions, bring your comments. Thank you so much. Love that you guys could join me. And I will see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys have been fantastic. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.